Hey, so this is, and apologies if I'm pronouncing this incorrectly, Vici's um, building. And you can see immediately it's a pretty nice likeness of the building. Proportions generally look pretty good. Um, and yeah, so, overall it's quite close. I think some areas for improvement are when I look at how high this window goes over this door and this one overlaps less. Then maybe you can try and, I think just making this taller is what needs to happen. Um, what I might do for that is to select these all and then group them, edit group or Control G, and then use modify center pivot to make sure the pivot's in the middle, R for scale, and then you can just scale it up. And once that's done, maybe move it up a little bit. Yeah, the bottom of it lines up roughly with the bottom of that window there, so yeah, something like that. But then, in scaling it, I also made these thicker, and so what I might do for a little trick here is to take these vertices and actually let's select the whole group. So I use my up arrow to pick the group because I pick one in the group and then I get the rest. Control space bar will get me my interface back, and then I hit the component mode and then I get all of those. So I'm going to take all these on the top. Actually, not all of them on the top. Yeah, and then let's go into the front view first of all to help this out. Control Alt and draw a box that'll zoom in. And I'll select those, but then I'll use Control and deselect these and deselect those. Probably those. And use scale again, and this time scale them in and see how it's flattening that out a little bit so that part's not so thick. I could have also just selected move them down and move these up, but that just doesn't scale does them at the same time. I'm also, if you look closely, and this, I know this stuff is hard to see, but I see some detail on the door here, like a little kind of ridge around there. So I'll show you how I might approach that. Again, front view. So spacebar for the hotbox, click in the center, go down to front view, and I'll grab this door. And one thing I sometimes do just to get rid of some clutter is go show, isolate, select, view selected. And so now I'm just looking at that one selected object. Click on the modeling toolkit, multi-cut, and so I'm going to hold down shift and cut here and here, and I'm holding down control now as I move along here, and it makes this cut, and we'll probably line it up with about the bottom of those. Oops, I didn't like that, did it? So yeah, it's not wanting to do that one. That's okay. So I'm going to hold down shift again and just slice through the whole thing, which is probably a little better anyway. Okay, give me a nice trade. So now I have this square at the bottom to work with. I can see it's not perfectly even, but I'll go into selection, right mouse click, edge, double click, W for move, and maybe adjust that a little bit. And maybe double click here and move this one up a bit, something like that. And now I have this nice face to work with here. I'll go in perspective and see what's going on a little bit better. Okay. So now I'm going to just do a series of extrudes and adjustment to get a little more shape going on. And it's hard to see exactly what's going on here, but let's give it a shot. So extrude, click any one of these scales, and then we get the center scale, and so I can scale it evenly in. Yeah, and at that point I have this kind of ridge going around the outside, so I think what might work is to take all those and extrude all those, and then pull those out a little bit. And while I'm in this scaling mode, it'll scale them in towards their own center. So, oh, that's not working so well. Yeah, that's kind of going in towards the center. Is this any better? No, that won't be any better. Okay. So, yeah, what I might do is take this guy and this guy, scale them in towards each other a little bit to kind of thin that out. Oops, did it not? Grab this one, and this one. Let's go ahead and maximize this. There's no reason to. That's better. This one. Oops. So I'm just selecting these, shift selecting those and then scale them in towards each other, and that makes that more narrow. One way of doing this. So then I have that kind of additional detail on there, and if I want to go another step, and I guess, kind of guessing here, but I'll go ahead and extrude that face. Click here, and then I get my scale manipulator in the center, and then I could do something like this, pull this out a little bit. And yeah, maybe something like that, to get that extra detail at the bottom. It might be too thick right now. I could go to the side view here, Control Alt to zoom in, right mouse click, vertex, select these, push it back in a little bit. Something like that. Anyways, yeah, so that's just a quick demo, but it's looking pretty good. I thought maybe these signs could be, they're sticking out a little bit far, could be pushed back a touch, but yeah, overall very nice work.